Hello, this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo Entrepreneurs, which is a guide for solos, encores, and creative entrepreneur businesses. And it's my mission to help solos, all of you in one-person businesses, understand and apply the 7 solo business principles to your enterprises so that you can find greater financial success. I hope you'll visit my website, www.bettersmarterricher.com. You can download the free ebook outlining the 7 principles, sign up for the free newsletter, and join the conversation on the blog. And, of course, we really want you to stay tuned to this weekly radio show at www.soloproradio.com. We're going to do something a little different today. I have my co-hosts on Solo Pro Radio as my guests, and let me introduce you to you, and then we'll talk a little bit about what it is we're going to do with the show today. So my first guest is Barbara Saunders, and Barbara is the Solo Pro Radio founder. So, we wouldn't be doing Solo Pro Radio if it weren't for Barbara. And she's been working with self-employed professionals since the mid-1990s. Really, she's a pioneer in this field. Her first endeavor was to create a community for displaced professionals seeking a way to earn their living once their jobs were eliminated. The Self-Employed Communication Professionals Association served as a training ground and an incubator for hundreds of people as they launched their businesses. Many people are grateful to the insights and work that Barbara has done. In 2006, she launched the Solo Pro Academy. This institution delivers real-world business training for the digital age. With an emphasis on technology-driven strategies, her renowned workshops and seminars make running a global business a reality for the solo-based professional. Helping clients make friends with technology is a passion. Solo Pro Radio is a continuation of her mission to build a community voice for this fast-growing segment of our society. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Jackie. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm glad you're here. My other guest today is our third co-host on Solo Pro Radio, and that's Susan Rich. And Susan is the author of 2 acclaimed books, How to Write Your Kick-Butt Resume Cover Letter, and You, Famous Speaker, which was nominated for the Best Business Book in 2012. Susan's a renowned expert in self-promotion strategies for job seekers and entrepreneurs alike. Susan brings her in-depth understanding of results-driven communication strategies to guide re-careering business professionals and solo pros into launching get-noticed plans that generate lasting results. Again, many, many people are grateful to the work of Susan in helping them launch their careers or launch their small businesses. Susan has more than 25 years of experience in print, PR, and marketing. She's an expert in how to write to sell our vision, our passion, ourselves. In addition to her 2 books and numerous Write It, Say It, Sell It ebooks, Susan is an avid blogger with more than 1 million words in print. Holy moly, Susan. Susan's YouTube channel, Rich Writing, has garnered attention for her regular, very important fact, VIF broadcast, and her love of wearing vintage hats. You never know quite what Susan's going to be wearing when you go to meet her. She is also the host of the internet radio, Susan Rich Talks. So it's the 3 of us together at this moment, Barbara, Susan, and I, who are the mainstays of Solo Pro Radio these days. And if you're a regular listener, you know that we've just been having great, interesting discussions and talking to solos in all types of careers and walks and of life and different ways that they've been doing it. And what we've decided to do in 2014, at least for the first early part of 2014, is that we are going to focus our time on Solo Pro Radio working more towards discussions with encore entrepreneurs. And so I thought today would be a great time, since this is our first show in 2014, to talk about encore entrepreneurship, how we plan to serve them, what kind of ideas we're looking at, and why this is so important. So just tune in, sit back, and join us for some great conversation. So Barbara and Susan, why do you think that we should be focused on encore entrepreneurship? Any thoughts about that? I have a lot.
I do too, definitely. This is Barbara. I think that it is the way the world is going. You know, it's estimated that by 2020, more than 50% of the workforce in the U.S. will be solo-based.
Wow.
Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Holy moly. That's fantastic. And, you know, Barbara, if you tie that with the statistics about encores, you know, we've got this huge baby boomer population, and there's 79 million baby boomers. And of those baby boomers, the last group, that's the age group between people born between 1946 and 1964. So the last year of those baby boomers are turning 50 this year in 2014. And that's a generation of about 79 million people. And when you add that into people of previous generations who are still on the planet, that makes about 100 million people 50 plus. And they're an interesting group for a lot of reasons. I mean, think this is the group that, you know, drove all the changes in the 60s. And, you know, they were a real can-do mentality and mindset. You know, they've changed everything they've touched the whole time they've been growing up. And in addition to that, they're now turning 65 at the rate of, are you ready? Hold on to one of those hats, Susan. At the rate of 10,000 people a day are turning 65, and we're 3 years into that aging of the baby boomers. Years into it, so we've got 16 years to go with this aging of the population. So, zowie.
Well, you know, when you couple all of that numbers with the fact that a large percentage of those people really don't have enough retirement income to sit on the rocking chair and, you know, rock, they're going to have to earn money to support their lifestyle for the next, 20, 40 years that they're going to live.
Right. That's
so how are they going to do that?
Exactly.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Well, what fascinates me about that idea is that we don't even know what this generation is going to come up with, because I like to think of it as a generation that doesn't really want to grow old and they don't want to die. And so as they become solo pros, as they figure out what to do in this next act, they're just going to come up with some amazing, amazing things. And that's what's really intriguing, is to kind of see what's coming down the pike.
That's so true, Susan, that there is such energy with this group. As I said, it's a real can-do attitude, and they've got multiple successes behind them. I shouldn't say they, I'm one of them. There's multiple successes behind this population because their whole life, everything that they have touched, they've changed. First of all, they were this big glob of people that got born after World War II, and then they grew up, we remember the 60s, or if we didn't live through it, we remember what happened during the 60s. And, there was a line in the movie I saw the other day that the woman said to her colleague, she said, "Oh, honey, I grew up in the 60s. Nothing shocks me." And so you take that population, but as Barbara said, this is a real live in the present generation, and very few of them saved money. I don't know if either of you remember. I remember that the whole idea was don't trust anybody over 30, and that was obviously, 35 years ago. And people think, don't trust anybody over 30. So if you feel that way and you think, okay, I'm going to live hard and I don't trust anybody over 30, what do? You spend your money. Well, nobody thought they were going to live this long. And not only did they not think they were going to live this long, they thought, oh, my goodness, what's going to happen is I'll turn 65 and I'll be old like my grandpa was, and I'll sit in the rocking chair and I'll retire. And now they find that they're 65 and they're healthy, they're full of energy, they're full of creativity, they're not ready to give up yet, they aren't ready to sit down at all, and they have this sense of let's create something new, let's create something exciting. And those who were working in corporate America have said, hey, I'm sick of that, I want to do something different. So, Susan, I think you're totally right. I think that there's going to be just a fantastic renewal come along that we can't even imagine what it's going to look like. All kinds of new stuff happening.
Well, definitely, and the tools are so, developing rapidly that allow us to do things that were unthinkable even, a decade ago.
Yes. Yes.
We can do business globally from our desktop at home.
And Barbara, you're so good at that. You're so good at that. Do you have off the top of your head a story or two of people you've worked with who are kind of doing business globally from their desktop at home, including you?
Oh, sure. I have a past client that I just love this story. She just got this wild hair that she wanted to go live in France, in the south of France. And so she picked her little self up and moved to the south of France, and she's doing her coaching business from the south of France. She does it all over the phone lines and over the Internet, and she supports herself just fine with that business, her online business. She has a couple products that she sells. She coaches people in productivity, both in corporate America and on their own, and that's her business, and she's doing fine.
What a great story.
I
feel like I'm having a lack of imagination in my life that I haven't thought of. Why don't I want to go live in the south of France and coach via phone? Wow. How fun. How fun.
Another story is my own story from my own past. When I first started my previous business, which was a custom publishing design service for larger companies doing magazines and that, there wasn't a lot of work in the Pacific Northwest in the early 2000s, late 1900s. So I found my clients over in Germany and Finland.
Oh.
Where the money was, and that's the secret. It allows you to make, to earn money where the money is moving. You're not stuck to your local economy.
Oh, that's wonderful that you've experienced that. The only experience I've had with it, Solo Pro Radio was part of it. If, I don't know, I'm sure you remember in 2010, my husband and I were traveling, and we took this big trip. We were on the road for 3 months. And during that part of the time, I still had my weekly commitment to Solo Pro Radio. And so I would, I had my iPad and my earphones and Skype, and I did the radio show from such places as the Rocky Island, I think that's what it was called, Rock Island Arsenal in the island in the Mississippi River. And I did it from the parking lot of the Kennedy Space Center, and I did the show from the Gulf waterfront down in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I did it from Lubbock, Texas, and I did it from one of the little towns in New Mexico, and it was just cool. It was just absolutely cool. And as I recall, you'd say, well, where are you today?
I remember that.
Yeah. So you can move and you can be anywhere. I really agree with both of you that I don't think we've begun to see the creativity that the baby boomers are going to exhibit in creating new work. So I'm a proponent for the concept that if people got downsized, we all know what that is like. Barbara, that really spurred you on. Years ago when you got downsized, you tell your story of getting downsized 3 times and saying, okay, that's enough, I'm creating my own business. But, when we had the economic downturn in 08 and 09, so many of the baby boomer generation, they're the ones that got downsized. And, they just kind of got kicked out wholesale, got kicked out of companies who said, oh, well, these are the older people and they're the ones that make the most money and we have to cut costs, so we're going to cut costs by getting rid of this group. And now they're looking around and saying, we don't have anybody that knows anything here. We downsized everybody that knew anything. But that population, a lot of them are out there looking for work, and they can't find work because ageism in the hiring halls is very, very prevalent. And so many of them who say, I spent everything, I can't afford to retire, my Social Security is never going to support me, and so they're turning to our favorite topic, which is entrepreneurship. And I think it's going to be a really exciting, vital move that's going to happen in our economy.
So, if there was one message that I could underscore for, those listening to today's show, that would be it. Mm-hmm. That is that, even if you're, 45, 50 plus, your most valuable commodity is in your head.
Yeah.
It's what you know and what you can bring, and teach and show and all of that. It's not an age thing.
Right. And besides that, people are healthier.
Yes.
This isn't like you're going to hire somebody and they're likely to head into a fast decline. You're going to hire people, if you do hire people, whether you hire them to do a gig or whether you hire them as an employee, you're going to get some great talent there and be able to expect to have that person around and working with you for quite a long time because people are simply healthier than they were, and they're smarter too. Yeah. So, Susan, I think part of what you are bringing, is you've got the skill set to help people sell themselves. So remember we talked about a class that, you could put on or a program you could put on about how to sell yourself in the gig economy? You want to talk about that a little bit?
I just have some interesting thoughts around it because what I'm really big on is the idea of effective communication. And when we're in corporate America, I think one of the challenges that our emerging solo pro community needs to understand is that, and they've heard it before, you got to wear a lot of hats. Okay, but it's actually true because so much gets done for you when you have a job in corporate America, and what you don't generally have to think about is your messaging and your brand and who you are and what you do and why it matters. And so one of the focuses that I want to bring forward in my time on the show is helping people rebrand themselves and identify what it is that they're good at. Because if you're going to start your own business, you have to understand that you're an expert in some way of making money, or saving time. That's what you're good at. That's what you spent your years in corporate America doing if you chase it back to the bottom line. And so now whatever service you want to create and sell is based on some level of expertise here. So within your messaging, and this is what I can help you do, is figure out how to, one, explain what it is that you're good at, and two, how hiring you benefits the community of people that you want to work with. And so that's a really complex structure because it's a really great opportunity for us to come out and say, this is my passion, this is what I've always wanted to do, now I get to make a run at it, and it's great, and I'm really excited about it. But unless we're able to effectively communicate to our audience that if you hire me, I will help you solve a problem in a way that nobody else can, and in doing so, I'm going to save you time, and make you money, which goes to the heart of better, smarter, richer. It's all of that put together, but people need to understand that our words, how we actually, what we're doing with social media, with our blogging, with our advertising, whatever way we're using to get people to know about us, has got to have a very precise message. And that's what
Susan, I just absolutely love that you've taken all the stuff that we talk about when we're presenting ourselves, and those of us who are solos and also encores, and you say, I'm going to boil it down and make you get really clear about what your expertise is, and it has to come back to what the client gets, benefits, not features, but benefits. And the benefits that any client is interested in, whether he's a client or an employer, is can you help me make money, can you help me save money, or can you help me save time? That's it. That's the bottom line.
That's it.
Wow.
Bottom line.
Pretty clear.
In addition, I'll just throw this in there. When people were in corporate America, you had to keep the party line. You had to say what corporate America expected you to say. And today, as solos, we have the opportunity and responsibility to develop our own voice.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's very liberating. It's a little intimidating, but it's a very important piece of what Susan's talking about that I think is so valuable.
Well, it is. And so it isn't just a matter of developing your own voice, which takes I have a client that that talks a lot about helping people become authentic speakers. And so she talks a lot about this topic. So it's not just developing your own voice. What Susan is saying, in addition to that, then you want to choose the words that you are going to use to express that voice, because you're got to come back to be talking about, I have expertise that is either going to make you money, or save you time. I love that, Susan. And Barbara, you're absolutely right on. So you develop your own voice, which I think is also scary to people. You know, I mean, some of the stuff we're talking about, maybe, you know, our fellow encores or our fellow solos have just never been able to do this before. You know, they've never been able to speak their own voice except kind of when they went home and grumbled about what went on at work today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huge communication opportunity, isn't it? I guess we better learn how to do it.
And it was very scary, I think, at first, but
it is scary at first.
All adventures.
It is. We had a Better, Smarter, Richer study group today, and it was the first session of a new study group, and one of the women that was there works with creatives, particularly artists and particularly solos, and her audience is, she said, the Gen Xers, people 35 to 50 particularly, who are, most of them are working moms who are trying to figure out how to, mostly on a part-time basis, do something that will supplement their income and allow them time to work with their kids. And she said when she begins to use the words branding strategy, they just get terrified, you know, because they think branding strategy is a corporate nomenclature. And I said, but you know, you can always go on and explain it, but that is what we're talking about today, is that you are your brand. You are your brand. So you, Barbara Saunders, are your brand. You, Susan Rich, you're your brand. You, Jackie Peterson, you are your brand. You know, and we've got to then develop a voice around that and the words to make the sale. Interesting times. So, you know, one of the things that I think is so exciting is that there is a huge rise in entrepreneurship, not just solopreneurship, but entrepreneurship as a whole. And, you know, like Barbara, you said 50% of the workforce is going to be self-employed. And, you know, by the year, 2020, that's not very far away anymore. And, you know, so what happens is people who maybe were used to working for somebody else either no longer want to or can't, you know, because there's been such a sloughing off of jobs, particularly good jobs. The jobs, there was a big article in the paper just about how many of the jobs that have been created are actually low-paying jobs, not good jobs. And so people say, wait a minute, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to create my own work. I am going to monetize the expertise that I have. I am going to create my own business, and I'm going to take care of myself. I'm not going to count on Daddy Corporation to take care of me, and I'm certainly not going to count on Big Brother government to take care of me, because both of them have shown me that they can't. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of myself. Isn't that what you see happening?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. You know, and I also see schools changing, the educational system changing, because buying a degree anymore, you know, doesn't fit it. People really only want to know what they need to know to do what they need to get done. So I think there's going to be some radical changes. It's very exciting.
It is. It is. If you can, you know, if you are not invested in the establishment, you know, because if you're totally invested in what is going away, it's probably a terrifying time, although that's certainly a kind of excitement. Terror is quite exciting.
Yeah.
But if you're like the three of us, and you are curious, creative, resilient, adaptable, innovative, you know, all of those positive sides about making the changes that are coming, it's a very positively exciting time to be paying attention to what's going on out there.
Mm-hmm. And I want to point out something that Barbara and I talk about quite a lot is you don't have to do it alone. And so you don't have to, nobody expects you to come out of corporate America or, even if you've been retired for a couple of years and you just want to stick your hand in the pool and get started again, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to know everything. And there's a lot of isolation and uncertainty when you're starting off as a solo pro, and people feel like they're not smart, they're not ready, they don't get it, it's going to take too long, and so they diminish themselves before they even get started. And it's important to understand that one of the things that we're doing with Solo Pro Radio is offering all of the technologies and the tools and the techniques to get you started. And so some of the experts that we'll have on and some of the ideas that we'll be sharing are all geared at helping people be successful in their solo enterprise.
That's fabulous.
That
so well said. You must be a words person. Beautifully said, Susan. Beautifully said. Because I agree with you. I think that's exactly what Solo Pro Radio is all about, is that you don't have to do it alone, and there are resources and listeners. Our goal for the coming year is to help make those resources very visible to you. We're planning to have guests who are going to talk about what they have done, what has worked for them, what has not worked for them, ideas, success stories, interesting stories, ideas and things that for them as encores, or as I say, haven't worked for them, don't try this at home, that sort of thing. Yeah, and to give us some thoughts. So just so our listeners, we've got a fabulous list of topics that we're coming up with, and talking about solopreneurship, technology, branding, using social media, money, and the solopreneur culture, whole bunch of things like that we're talking about, and we're talking about guests, and we're going to invite people to just have good conversations with us. So I know for my part of the show, I'm going to be talking to people from AARP, the Small Business Development Center, the Small Business Administration, American Society on Aging, people who are interested in aging in place, a group called Life by Design Northwest, recareering specialists, all of these people about, what resources they have for encore entrepreneurs and, how they can help the encore become more comfortable about taking off and starting their new business, and how they can become quickly more financially successful. So, Susan and Barbara, do you have any guests lined up that you're talking to yet that I don't know about in that group?
Well, I am planning to talk to some people on who are experts on planning.
Oh, cool.
And different ways to plan. Not just sort of the get out the calendar and do it, but some creative ways to bring all of your, creative energies to bear. I'm also planning on talking to a fellow who wrote a great book called Work the System, and he is a system expert, and we're going to talk about how to set up simple systems to liberate you in your business.
Oh, great.
So,
that sounds really wonderful.
And I'm really excited to get going.
Me too. And Susan, I know that you're going to talk about, how to sell yourself in the gig economy. And, again, what we've been talking about, I had a woman I met last year who was actually going to put on a seminar about the gig economy. That's where I got that word from. And we talked about it quite a bit. And she said, well, I actually do bookkeeping and for people. And what I see is many of my clients are putting together their resume of their skill set. These are the things I know how to do. And then they're going to companies and they're saying, how about I do these things for you? In other words, you hire me to do a gig, a short or medium-term part-time work experience, or even short-term but full-time work experience, or maybe you work for somebody for 3 months or 6 months or, less than a year of some kind, and you do a very specific thing for them. And I think the idea of learning how to sell our portfolio of skills in this new economic mix that we're creating is going to be a pretty big deal. So are you going to be talking about that?
I will be talking about that, and one of the other areas a couple areas I want to focus on is a lot of people hate to write. And
yes.
I got news for you. This is a written economy, because if you have an online business or any form of communication, it has to come down to the written word. And so one of the things that I will be focusing on is teaching people writing strategies that are quick and easy, and if you hate to write, you're going to learn some ways of doing it successfully and quickly so that you write with influence and power. And so what we're talking about here with the gig economy, you don't have the time to share miles and miles of information. You actually have to get to the heart of the matter and sell yourself and prove that you can get a job done in a way that the company needs it done. So as a service provider, and I just love the idea of you might retire from a company and then you turn around and go back in as a consultant, and you make more money that way, and you already know the ropes in the company, but you can actually help them accomplish certain things that get stuck. You're not tied into the political reality because you're a consultant. I mean, there's some really interesting ways that people who retire can actually re-engage, or they can just create something new and strikingly different. And it all comes down to how you market yourself, how you sell yourself, what is the way you want to tell your story. And the second idea that just intrigues me is, as we're getting older, we've all heard about the sandwich generation, life interrupts. And so I want to have some guest experts on that talk about, as we're building out our careers as solo pros, what do we do when that moment happens and we have to find extra resources, like maybe we have to put a parent into a home, or there's an illness in the family. There's a lot of confusion and concern out there as we are an aging population, a lot of services that I'd like to help people become aware of.
I think that's really important. Years ago, one of my friends who is a real estate developer said to me, our generation, like we said before, has changed everything we've ever touched. And my interest is in changing the way that we live when we retire. And, she's already involved in some developments and, that are experimental about how people live, and things like co-housing. And there's a program called Villages Northwest, which she knows a lot more about than I do. And then we talked last year to an architect who's up in Seattle, and he's a specialist in what he calls aging in place and designing homes that they can tolerate and accommodate, walkers or canes, or maybe even a wheelchair, and, grip bars, and the way you change handles on doors, and, just the way that you put services together so a person can stay within their own home. And I think these are all part of that, much less, the whole concept of what do you do if you also have an aging parent and you're trying to make your business run, and that parent is, going to be, you're going to have to house them someplace, whether it's with you or someplace else, and how you're going to have to do that. I think also from my end that I want to talk about some of the financial ends of things, like, is it worthwhile to get long-term care, insurance? Is that a good thing to be doing? And what does that mean? And what does it really cost to have somebody in a facility? So we can maybe joint co-host on some of that, work together and do maybe a whole week on that, where we each do a different segment of that sort of a presentation, and talk about things that people are really interested in and things they really need to know. I like this.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's important because you will be, as a solopreneur, we are responsible for our benefit packages now. We're responsible for the whole picture.
Yes.
This is a good place to come and let's talk about it.
Yes.
It's not something that's being talked about. So this is the place to go.
I know I've gotten to the point in every time I make any kind of a presentation, I'm telling people need to begin saving money for retirement and investing money for retirement. And, there's things that they need to do to take care of themselves, because, the truth is that if we all of us in this baby boomer, all 79 million of us in the baby boomer generation stopped and started collecting our Social Security and didn't make any sort of a positive, the country would go bankrupt, if we weren't making a positive contribution back into the economy. We have to be doing this because the generation behind us is Gen X, and Gen X only has 33 million people in it. And, the 33 million people cannot carry 30 years of retirement for 79 million baby boomers. It just doesn't make sense. And it isn't going to happen. So the 79 million are going to have to sit there and just by common sense take a bigger portion of financial responsibility for themselves than maybe their parents had to, But on the other hand, we expect them to live a lot longer, too, and to live a lot more active lives. We're not going to warehouse them in, was it Soylent Green, where they were getting rid of all of the elders?
On crackers.
Right. That isn't going to happen. We're not taking everybody and warehousing them and waiting for them to die. We're saying to this group, hey, get out of that chair and go contribute something here because, not only do you want to, you need to. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be an interesting time over the next, 20 years as this goes forward. Really interesting time, and I expect us at SoloPro Radio to be on the leading edge of that. So listeners, I want to tell you a little bit about, not only about what we're planning to do, but some of the things we're looking for. We are looking for some visibility sponsors and also, of course, some financial sponsors if they come forward for this show. We think that what we're talking about is so important that we are looking for people who will help us send out our message about what we're going to be talking about and to whom. And so we've got a media kit that is all put together, and we'd be happy to send it to you or to anybody that you suggest because we want people that can help us get the message out. So if you are part of or have an organization that is made up a lot of our encore entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and people who are 50 plus and really need to participate in some of the information that we are going to be talking about, we'd like to talk to you and see if you can help us make our show more visible so that we can get our message out to the people that really, really, really need to hear it. The other thing that we're looking for, if you happen to be interested in this, is we're looking for some other co-hosts for the show. We've got some hours available, and we would love to talk to you about this. We think any of you who are a coach or a consultant or a supplier to the Encore Entrepreneur network or population, you'd have a great opportunity here to, talk about what you do and talk to Encores and get your message out to the world by being one of our co-hosts on either a weekly or a semi-weekly or even a monthly basis. And if you're at all interested in that, we'd love to chat with you because we've got some great ideas. And even though, we're enthused about what we're doing, we think that this is deeper than just the three of us and the guests that we have. So if you think you've got a question or an idea or a resource for us, please let us know. And what you do is you contact Barbara at soloproradio.com, or her phone number is 503-746-4666. And we will get you a media kit immediately, and so that you can see the possibilities for you and your business or your colleagues or, whatever your interest is in working with Encore Entrepreneurs. We're really trying to spread the opportunity and the wealth here because we think what we're up to is critically important.
It's a global
anything
movement.
To add on that, Susan and Barbara?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. It's a global movement, and we'd like as many voices to join us as we'd like to.
There was a big article in the newspaper, I think it was a week ago Sunday, where they were talking about what they're calling the retirement crisis, this financial crisis. And one answer, not the only answer, but one big answer is Encore Entrepreneurship. And for our listeners that don't know, the Small Business Administration and AARP signed a memorandum of understanding about developing training for, entrepreneur training for this population, and they signed that agreement, I think, in 2011. So that's kind of underway. But in the article in the newspaper, it was an Associated Press article, they were talking about that this is not just a U.S. problem, it is a global problem. And so they talked about Brazil and China and Japan and parts of Europe and, other countries where we've just got this huge balloon of aging population. And as we said before, you can't just sit down and sit in your rocker. It isn't going to work. So, we need to get excited about what we can be entrepreneurial about and go make something happen now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Cool. So I want to tell you both that the Small Business Development Center at Portland Community College is about to launch its Encore Entrepreneurship program, and that's going to be a combination of Better, Smarter, Richer, the Directed Self-Study program, which is our business writing program, our Entrepreneur Development Series, which is a part of Business Skills, and all of this is going to be offered combined with one-on-one advising. And Barbara is one of our advisors, and I'm one of our advisors, and, we're available to you if you want to take a look at the program and say, I'd like to begin an entrepreneur venture, and I'd like to get started, and I could use some help. Well, our Small Business Development Center is just another resource where you can come and help, and we're going to be launching this probably about the 1st of March, so stay tuned to that. Okay.
That's going to be very exciting. Yes, I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait either. I'm really thrilled. So, what else have we got to add here, guys? Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I love that you talked about it being a global issue.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've noticed coming more to the forefront is this population considering, looking at moving outside the U.S. for their retirement because it's so much cheaper. Mm-hmm. And solopreneurship makes that possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they can earn a living wherever they choose to live, whether it's in Brazil or Ecuador or, Costa Rica, wherever.
Barbara, that's a wonderful point of view because early on, when I think maybe one of my very early shows, we talked to, if you remember, a woman who had come up with the idea of helping people seniors relocate to Costa Rica.
Yes,
and because the cost of living was so much lower there, and what she planned to do was help seniors find a way to live overseas. So that's a whole other piece on this, isn't it?
It really is. It's part of this new lifestyle. The fact is that you can recreate your lifestyle and then create the business to make it happen.
Isn't it wonderful to have all this freedom?
Yeah, it's exciting, but it can be a little scary, and that's what we're here for, is to create a community to walk us all through it.
That's right. And learn from one another and shore each other up. I had one of my I taught a class down at the coast about 3 weeks ago, or maybe it was 4 weeks ago now. It was before Christmas, and there were two women who I think were both about 60, and one is a wonderful artist, and she lives at the coast, the Oregon coast, but she sells most of her paintings in St. Thomas. And another woman was there who has been an upholsterer all of her life. She is highly skilled. When a lot of the passenger ships would come into the port of Astoria, they would hire her to go through and redo all their chairs in one of the lounges, or create new bedspreads and pillow shams for the staterooms, or she has a contract with an interior designer in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So, I mean, they're both highly skilled, and very tremendously creative artists, both living on the coast. And we got talking, and they both said, well, what happens is, particularly with the downturn of 08 and 09, what happens is that I get scared because my sales dropped way off, and then I live in a community that really isn't very rich, and they themselves can't afford to buy what I sell. And so then I begin to feel self-doubt. I begin to think maybe I'm not really that good. Maybe, the day has passed for my particular skill and industry to keep growing. And I said, okay, we are going to have a pact in this class. There were, 30 people in the room. And I said, we're going to have a pact here, and particularly you two, I want you two to exchange business cards. And here's the pact, that when we get scared, because we all get scared, I get scared, Barbara gets scared, Susan gets scared, we all get scared, that when we get scared, we will not go to this place that says, I must not be very good at what we do. We will go to the place that says, I'm scared and I'm going to ask for some support. So I made the two of them exchange business cards and promise me that next time they get scared, they would call one another up and say, can we go have a cup of coffee? I just need to talk to somebody a little bit. And that's, again, what we can do with Solo Pro Radio. Just like Barbara said, we can support each other. We can be a place where you can come and you can say, I just need to know I'm not all alone. I just need to know there's other people out there, and just because I haven't made a sale for 2 weeks doesn't mean I'm never going to make a sale again, because that's where we go, right?
That's value. That's it. You hit it on the head.
Yeah. We get scared. And, of course, we get scared. And then, all the things that our parents said to us 45 years ago, that said, oh, you do beautiful work, but you'll never make a living doing that. Go get your degree in history, or you better become a teacher. Teachers are always hired. And you think, well, wait a minute. That's not a very good message. And that's what happens. So, again, this is the place for Solo Pro. This is the place for this radio show, you guys. We can support each other in this quest that we're making to do what we really, really love to do and make a difference in the world. Yahoo, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're about at the end of our time, and I've been, talking away. Either of you have any, last pieces of advice you'd love to give to our solos?
Well, I think that I would just ride on the tail feathers of what you just said and say, reach out and create a community that you can, even if it's just a couple people that you get together to listen to Solo Pro Radio, that's a place to start and let your mind start thinking differently.
I like that a lot. And, I don't talk enough about that our Solo Pro Radio hours go up on the website, and they are available as podcasts. So we will talk more about that as we go along as to how you can make sure, because just because you can't listen at the time the show goes up on the website doesn't mean you can't listen. So, it's available to you anytime. So we will talk more about that, about how you can make sure that you can tune in and get the podcast and, have this great group of enthusiastic people talking to you whenever you need it. We'll make sure, especially our technology person, Barbara, will make sure that we let people know about that. I promise you we will do that.
Definitely.
Susan, any more to add?
Well, I just want to say that a lot of this, I like what you said a moment ago, Jackie, about forming your community and meeting with people. And then just folks who are in Portland, Oregon, Barbara and I have a monthly lunch meeting called Business Innovation Group. And so for our local listeners, you are absolutely invited to join our community and come join us, and let's brainstorm ideas for driving your business forward.
Okay. Do you have a special time or place where that meets?
We are the last Thursday is it the last Thursday of every month? Fourth Thursday?
The fourth Thursday of every month, and we meet down on Macadam. You can learn more about it at soloprosuccess.com. Click on the events tab there, and you'll get all the information.
Cool. Well, people that need community not only tune into the radio, but you can do it in person as well, and I think that's very important. So I'm going to bring us to a close. I'm going to tell you it's been great conversation. You now have an idea of where we're going in 2014 with the Solo Pro Radio. I hope you're excited as we are about this. We're just absolutely thrilled, and I hope that you will tune in and attend some of the Business Innovation Group meetings. I hope you'll tune in weekly and see what we're talking about on the radio show. And if you're interested in helping us spread the word, that you'll help us find some visibility sponsors, contact Barbara at soloproradio.com, 503-746-4666. And also remember, if you think, gosh, I have a lot to say about this subject, I'd like to be part of this, we're looking for hosts, and we'd love to talk to you about doing that. And we are just a fun group. So again, this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Creatives, Solos, Encores, all you one-person businesses. And I'm tuning off for today. Thank you for joining us, and we're looking for feedback from you, and we know that we can help you become even more successful than you already are. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.